Hello and welcome to another episode of Motors for the Masses.
And in this episode we were going to bring you a Bob episode, and I apologise that we can't. The reason is that Malcolm seems to have disappeared. He's gone off grid by the looks of it. He's probably got his nose stuck in a computer game or something, but I've emailed and I've sent messages and texted and he's ignoring me. Perhaps he hates me. Anyway, moving on. So what we thought we'd bring you is an unboxing or sort of video. What we're going to do is show you the process of a bike arriving at us from the importer to us getting it ready to send out to a customer. So hopefully you'll find this interesting. So let's roll the intro and get cracking.
Crack! Okay, so this is how we usually get them arrived. They're normally either on a steel pallet, a wooden pallet, or even a cardboard pallet, covered in cardboard over the top. On these metal ones, there's a metal framework inside holding the bike to the pallet.
And the first thing we do is inspect to make sure there's no holes, damages, or anything else. And if there is, we take photographs of it and send it back to the importer and say, look, it's damaged. Usually, if there is cardboard damage, they're pretty well protected inside, and we'll show you what they're like when we take this cardboard off. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is cut these restraints and get this out of the way. Okay, so the first thing to do is to cut off these straps with the irrelevant tool.
Not one of them.
Oh, go on then. Smart ass. Then comes the unveiling section. So inside here is a bike. Now, it's not just as straightforward as taking off the cardboard, because you always get some packaging inside, and this one has the battery and some of the documents and some other stuff. And then inside is the bike. Ooh. Ooh. Now, when a lot of these bikes arrive, they have a metal crate all around them, and it depends which importer it comes from as to how it's crated up. Quite a lot of them have a big, massive metal frame with lots of crisscrosses of metal all bolted together, as you can see here. So this one comes in a crate, and it's all mounted to the crate like so. Nice and solid, and that isn't going anywhere, and you have to undo the crate obviously before you can get to the bike. Not all of them do that. Not all of them are necessary, and it depends obviously the thickness of the cardboard they use as well. Hanway is usually pretty good in keeping it quite simple. As you know, there's a lot of things that need putting on with some bikes. With other bikes, pretty much like this Hanway and a lot of the more modern bikes that are coming through now, there's not a lot of putting together needing to go on because they come pretty well assembled. So let's have a look, see what this one's like. So there we have it. We have a bike which is pretty much assembled. They've even got the front wheel in. Now, a lot of these don't come with the front wheel in, and this one is already. That is fantastic. So let's see what we've got. Have you guessed what it is yet? I can't do that in the Rolf Harris kind of way. Yes, it is. No, I'm not going to tell you. We'll unbox it some more.
A foam and bubble covered thing.
Yes, yeah. This is standard trim. It's got the white extra padded tank and the extra padded seat here, commonly known as bubble wrap. So as I say, quite often the bikes arrive, they've got the forks bolted into the bottom of the frame. The wheel is usually separate, tucked in and tied along the side here. The handlebars are never on unless it's a small scooter, then the handlebars obviously are on. Other than that, this is pretty much how they usually come. So say some of them have a big metal frame crate all the way over, others it's not that necessary, depending how well they're shipped. So the first thing we do before we take it apart is inspect to see if there's any damage, anything that might have been protruding. This one I can't see any marks whatsoever. No, we're looking good. Nothing around the bottom here, nothing that's been protruding from the cardboard. Even the rubber here, which is the thing that sticks out the most, is in good condition, so we're all good. It's very rare these days that we get any damage at all on shipping.
Okay, so the next thing we need to do is just take off all this protective packaging and just double check everything underneath there, make sure there's no damage to paintwork and so forth, and that'll release these bars so then we can add them attached to it to actually move the bike around. Alright, so we'll do that now.
So the thing to take care of here is that you're not doing it with a Stanley knife or a Stanley blade. Just cut gently round and make sure you're not going to nick any of the leather or any of the paintwork.
Ooh, look at that.
Nice. So as you may have guessed by now, if you haven't, then there's something wrong with your eyes. This is the Hanway Black Cafe 125 in green. Now before anyone says anything, no, this is not a blue fuel cap. They always put on the blue protective stuff that you have to peel off when it comes to doing its PDI or having its PDI. Now, as you can see, the handlebars need putting in position. They're not in the right position, they're moved in so they can fit inside the crate. So, what's the first thing to do, Jamie?
On these particular clip-on type of bars, they've got a locating pin here which goes up and locates into the top yoke. So what we need to do is just move that up, locate that into place, and then tighten this pinch bolt which is just here. Okay, so on this clip-on, what we have is a locating pin here, and there's a hole up in this top yoke which that needs to basically line up with and go into. So we twist this around. What we need to do is make sure the cables aren't fouling on anything as we do it. Twist it around and there you go, it's just located in place. And then around this side, what we have is a pinch bolt just here, which we just need to tighten up in place. And that's one side, so now we just do the same with the opposite side. Alright, so the next thing is fit the gear lever and bar ends, which come in a little packet like this. As you can see, it's the gear lever and linkage we have to put on. So we'll do that next. Okay, so this is the linkage with the lever. So what's probably best to do is actually to mount the lever first and then the linkage afterwards.
As far as building bikes is concerned, this is quite an easy one to do. And a lot of them, as I say, are coming through like this now. There are some more difficult ones. Probably the ones that take the longest are probably Sinis, would you say? Because Sinis seem to have the handlebars to do, the wheels to do, the plastic tops on the scooters they need putting on as well. Other than that, they're pretty straightforward. So it's always a lot easier to put all these bits on whilst it's still strapped in the frame, because the bike isn't going anywhere. You haven't got to worry about putting it on a stand and it flipping forward or flipping back. Then you can just mount it quite nicely. I know the easiest thing is I want to get out of the frame, I want to see it, but this is the easiest way. This is why it's always good for a professional to do it, just to make sure that everything is put in the right place as it should be.
So this gear linkage, obviously we're putting it on now. We can always adjust this up and down once we've put it actually onto the bike.
It can be adjusted to a rider if they so wish, but we usually do it to the generic middle of the range, and that seems to be enough for most people.
Okay, so the next item to go on is the bar end. As you can see, it's just a single 5mm Allen bolt, so it's pretty easy. Slot the Allen bolt in. Okay, ready? Now you want to turn it gently just so you initially don't cross-thread it. And once you found it, you can wind it in. The other thing, once you've fitted a bar end weight, especially on the throttle side, is just to make sure that the throttle is still free. Alright, that's it, and we'll do the other side.
So once the bar ends are on, it then comes to getting it out of the crate. Obviously we're going to send it for PDI. In fact, we're going to do the PDI ourselves in a minute. So what we need to do is straddle the bike thusly, in a non-sexual kind of way, whilst Jamie clips off the metal securing bracket arrangement tie strap things. Now it's one thing to snip them off, it's another thing to make sure you actually undo it from the bike.
Another thing is make sure you don't scratch the bike with the metal wire, bringing it out as well.
Exactly that. And I'll be honest, the importers do actually put some sort of plastic protection around the wire that touches the frame, so it's not as if it's just metal on metal. But the bit you cut off is going to be sharp. So once that's there, I will hold this while he pulls out the back end. Okay, and then he holds that end whilst I lift out. I'll roll back and then lift out. It's at this stage I would like to point out that I don't usually do this professional unboxing, unveiling and putting together type work. I have other people to do that because they are the professionals. So if I look like a rank amateur, it's because I am. So I apologise. I'm only doing it for the purpose of this video to show you what's involved in the process. When it comes to the PDI, I'll be doing the assisting and helping and things and filming, but I won't actually be doing the PDI. Professional people will be doing that instead. I get to do the fun bit, like ride them and pay bills and talk to suppliers and sell stuff to people, which I do enjoy actually. And then I get to do the filming and writing scripts and research and going outside and getting wet and muddy and cold and damp and all that kind of stuff. So every bike that we sell comes with a PDI sheet, and this is checking off everything. So we put all the bike details in here, all the chassis number, engine number, the model it is, etc. And this forms the warranty. So this goes off to the importer, and that's how they register the warranty. So at the moment, our mechanic is just getting the battery prepared and putting some charge in it, ready for when the bike is going out on the road.
Okay, just because the bike has come direct from the manufacturer in the crate and everything seems to be assembled, it doesn't mean that everything is adjusted correctly. So first thing, just looking at this bike, you'd have a look here. This is the chain. The chain is clearly too tight. So that's direct from the manufacturer, and this is why we have a PDI sheet to check all the items on the bike, even though they've come from the manufacturer sort of preset. So another thing that we've also noticed pushing this bike onto the ramp is the headstock bearings are far too tight.
So what that means is we're going to have to undo the top of the bolt on the yoke here and just loosen off the bearings until it smoothly goes from side to side and not notchy as it is now. So as Jamie was saying, don't just assume when it comes out of the crate it's all good to go. That's why we have the PDI. So part of the process is to lube everything, making sure that everything that moves is lubricated, including the foot pegs. So anything that has a bolt through it, anything that moves should be lubricated so it moves nice and freely, doesn't squeak, doesn't catch. Now, one of the things to note when you're checking the oil on your bike is that you don't have to screw it all the way in. You just touch it to the top and then check the level. And in this, it is at where it's supposed to be. Perfect. Now, some bikes do come with transport oil. These ones don't. So you don't have to change the filter and you don't have to change the oil. You just have to check it and top it up if necessary. Now, we're not going to show you everything that's involved on the PDI sheet because that would be a very boring 2-hour video. Some of you might enjoy it, but in general, I don't think you would. If you do want to know how to adjust the head bearings, then we'll make a separate video for that. But trust me, it'll get done. Now, when it comes to the chain adjustment, ideally you can do it with someone sitting on the bike, hopefully the rider, because then you adjust the chain to the person that's going to be sitting on the bike. However, as far as the PDI is concerned, you don't have to do that. As long as there is a good inch movement up and down in the chain, you can always fine adjust it for the rider at a later date when it comes in for their first service, or to have it checked after they've owned it for a short while. So here, look, prime example of why we do the PDI. This, as you can see here, has got a crack in it. So we'll have to put a claim in for that and get a new one. And that will be put on there before the customer can take his bike. I just want to point out, I said his bike because I know it's going to a man. I'm not being sexist. Women can ride these too. I'm all for that. It's important to note that when you're putting on mirrors or anything else that is screwed on, to use this stuff. It's awful because it gets everywhere. But you use a little brush and stick it on the mirror thread like this. You see that, look? Ooh, there you go. And then you put that on there before it goes into the hole. The reason why is then they don't all jam up and get all sticky and rusted inside, and it keeps it nice and lubricated for if you need to adjust it or take them off again. So as you can see, that's now nice and free. So once that's done, all you have to do, tighten this back up again, and they're adjusted. So once the fuel is in, then it's time to start it. Make sure it runs okay. And then comes the test ride.
Okay, so now that's the PDI finished for the bike. All that's left is for the new customer to pick their registration.
And then we'll get it registered and taxed and of course cleaned, and then the bike will be ready for them to collect, or we'll deliver it. We know it's a him in this case, but it could be a him or her.
We do both.
Bikes are unisex. So there. Anyway, we hope you found this video interesting, or at least entertaining. If you haven't, then sorry. But then you watched it for the last 15-20 minutes, so I'm not that sorry. Anyway, as you know, we were supposed to bring the Honda Africa Twins. Well, Lings have decided right at the last minute, and I mean the last minute, that upper management have said, they don't want to go ahead with our filming. I don't know why. They liked our last video, so I don't understand what's going on there. I think the marketing department got involved and go, oh no, we're Honda. We can't be doing things like that. Oh no. So whatever. We're in search of another dealer to bring you some other bikes from Honda and Suzuki and other manufacturers. And we're also in cahoots with a car dealer to hopefully bring you some more hybrid and electric cars as well. So please watch out for that. We will also be back again with Mac and Bob. Bob is coming back very soon, and lots of other stuff. We've got some new bikes coming, so please watch out for that. And that brings us to the end of this episode. So thank you very much for joining us. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comments section below, and we will endeavour to reply, like I always do. So there. All that remains for me to say is, until next time, please ride and drive carefully.
But have fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye.